Okay, hi guys, welcome to your last lesson on transformations. Okay, so if you look at this picture right here, notice how this person is stretching that rubber band. Okay, that's an example of what you are doing today. Okay, what you're going to do today is you are going to be stretching your shapes either horizontally. So, this is an example of someone stretching a graph horizontally and or not a graph but a figure, and you're also going to be stretching a figure vertically. Okay, so that's what we're doing today. It's a really quick lesson. Your horizontal, this I took this internet or these pictures from the internet, but this is an example of a horizontal stretch. Okay, um, the width of the dog has increases, but the height of the dog has not increased. Okay, so I want you to understand, and I'll write this, right here. I'll try my best. But when we think of our points or our graphs, figures, we always graph them in terms of x and y. Okay, remember x is your x-axis, or your x coordinate is your x-axis, your y coordinate is your y-axis. Okay, so if you are stretching a figure horizontally, the only thing that is going to change is your horizontal coordinate, which is your x-axis. Okay, same thing for vertical stretches. Okay, so again, when we graph our figures, we always, you want to think of terms in your, you want to think of everything in terms of your ordered pair. So again, here's my ordered pair x, y. If you are stretching a figure vertically, the only thing that's going to change, or the only coordinate that is going to change, is your y-axis. Okay, because again, when we talk about things in terms of vertical direction, we're thinking of the y-axis only. Okay, so your horizontal and vertical, just restating what I said, a horizontal or vertical stretch or shrink, and I just want you to know we're going to focus on stretches. It changes the coordinate along one axis while keeping the coordinate along the other axis unchanged. Okay, so like dilations, horizontal and vertical stretches, we call that a scale factor, or we can even call that a ratio. Okay, and we label, as of now, I'm going to label that as n. Okay, so looking at, again, it says stretches and shrinks, so just understand, I'm used to like teaching algebra, so we're looking at horizontal and vertical stretches right now. Okay, um, if you look at this, both the size, both the shape and the size changes. Okay, so when you're doing your lesson activity, they're gonna be asking you to measure, the angles, the interior angles of your image, your pre-image, and your image, and you're gonna learn that the measure of those angles change, as well as the length of the sides. Okay, again, they have a scale factor. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to look at our vertical stretches. Okay, so the x coordinate stays the same. So remember, when you think of our ordered pairs, we have x and y. Okay, x represents your x-axis, y represents, the value of your y-axis. Okay, so if you visually think of your coordinate grid right now, your y-axis is that vertical direction. So when you are performing a vertical stretch, what you're going to do is you're going to multiply only your y axis, or your y ordered pairs, your y value on the coordinate grid, by whatever your scale factor is. Okay, so the x coordinate stays the same. The measures of your angles change. So let's say I give you a pre-image. Let's say I give you 2 points. To find the image or to transform it, all you have to do is multiply your y value by your scale factor. Okay, so let's go ahead and do an example here. we're going to use the same graph for both your vertical and horizontal stretches. I have a triangle, and what I want to do is I want to stretch this triangle, or I want to do a vertical stretch, okay? So again, when you think of vertical, I want you to think of, I'm sorry, I'm looking for my highlighter. Yeah, I want you to think of just your vertical axis right here. Okay, and I'm sorry, that is not cute. Okay, so what we're gonna do first is I'm gonna go ahead and just label my ordered pairs. I think some of you guys were struggling with, just labeling your ordered pairs. So if I look at point M is at -3, 1. And if I look at L, okay, the vertice or the L or point L, that's at 1, 1. And at K, it's at -2, 5. Okay, so again, thinking of our vertical stretches, the only thing that's going to change is um, all of your y coordinates. Okay, those are the only things, or your y values. So those are the only things that you're going to do, or that's going to change. And what we're going to do is we're going to do a vertical stretch by a scale factor of 2. So what that means is for this 2, I'm going to go ahead and multiply just my y coordinate by 2. Okay, so if I look at point M, I have the ordered pair -3 and 1. And again, notice how I only multiply the y coordinate by my scale factor, which is 2. So the image, or M prime, the points for M prime is now going to be at -3 and 2. Okay, I'm going to do all 3 points. So if I look at L, again, I have the points 1, 1. Okay, here's 1, 1. And what we're going to do is because it's a vertical stretch, we're going to multiply just my y-axis, or my y-coordinate, by the scale factor, which is 2. So your new points for your L prime is going to be 1, 2. Okay, and then K prime, again, you're just going to multiply your y coordinate by 2. So your final answer, or your new point, K prime, is going to be -2, 10. Okay, so what you're going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and just plot these points. Okay, and if I do that, and I'm going to go back because my notes are a little off right here. So I'm going to go ahead and plot A prime first. Okay, so if I want to plot A prime, I'm sorry, not A prime, M prime. M prime is at -3, +2. So this is where M prime is going to be. Okay, next I'm going to plot L prime. So L prime is at a +1 and a 2. So I'm going to go to my x-axis and I'm going to identify where 1 is. If it's a +2, I'm going to go up 2. So this is where L prime is. And then last but not least, I have K prime, which is at -2, 10. So again, I'm going to go to the x-axis, identify where -2 is, and then I'm going to go up 10 units. This is where -2 is. I'm going to go ahead and just label that as K prime. And notice when you connect the dots, you have a shape that was vertically stretched by a factor of 2. Okay? All right, let's go ahead and look at our, or just to summarize, because you're going to have to state this in your lesson activity. Notice your x coordinates, they don't change after a vertical stretch. Okay. All right, now looking at your horizontal stretches. Okay, so when you think of a horizontal distance, or the direction, know that the horizontal distance, we only move left to right. Okay, so anything that changes is only going to happen at your x coordinate. Okay, again, think of our order pairs. I have x, y. It says y is going to change. If you're doing a horizontal stretch, that means that the only thing that's going to change is the value of your x coordinate, okay? The measure of the angles are also going to change. And how do you change the value of that x coordinate? You're just going to multiply your order or your x coordinate by your scale factor, which is going to be given to you. Okay, so same thing. Sorry. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to look at the same graph, and I'm going to do a horizontal stretch by a factor of 2. So again, note that I'm dealing with the same pre-image that I gave you earlier, okay? So if I have a horizontal stretch by a scale factor of 2, key word is that it's horizontal. So that means only my horizontal values are going to change, which is going to be all of my x coordinates, okay? So how do you do that? Again, I'm just going to multiply my x coordinates by my scale factor, which in this case is going to be 2. Okay? Okay, so if you look at point M, okay, notice for point M, because we're doing a horizontal stretch, again, the only thing that's going to change is your x coordinate. So how does that change? You're going to multiply your x coordinate by your scale factor, which is 2. So I'm going to multiply negative 3 by 2. Okay, and when you multiply that by 2, you're going to get negative 6, 1. Okay, now if I look at point L, to get L prime, again, I'm going to multiply 1 by my scale factor. And again, your scale factor is 2. So 1 times 2 is going to give me 2. And again, your y coordinates don't change at all. Okay? And then if I look at k prime, again, I'm just going to multiply my x coordinate by my scale factor, which is 2. Your y coordinate doesn't change. Negative 2 times 2 is negative 4. Okay, so these are my points, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and graph them. Okay, so first I'm going to graph m prime. M prime is at negative 6, 1. So again, negative 6, I'm going to go to my x-axis, and then it's a positive 1 for my y-axis, so that means I'm going to go up 1. So that's point M, or M prime. For L prime, I'm going to go to a positive 2 on my x-axis. I'm going to go up 1 unit. So that's where L prime is. And then last but not least, you have K prime. K prime is going to be at negative 4. So I'm going to go to negative 4 on the x-axis. And it says that my y value is 5. So I'm going to go up 5 units. And that's where K prime is at. Okay, and all I'm going to do is go ahead and draw a line, or I'm going to connect these dots, and this is an example of a horizontal stretch. Okay, again, note how the y coordinates don't change after your horizontal stretch. Okay, so let's go ahead and start on your lesson activity right now. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the lesson activity. And I'm just going to go ahead, you guys, have to read that on your own in the directions. I'm going to go ahead and click on the activity. It says use GeoGebra to explore the properties. I'm going to click on this link right here. And I'm going to go back and just read question 1 for you real quick. It says move the horizontal and vertical sliders to stretch the image of a triangle. When you've settled on a pair of transformed images, record the coordinates of the images of the table. Be sure to list the coordinates in both the horizontal and vertical stretches. Also record the scale factors. You want to do this 3 times, okay? So n, if you look at this table right here, okay, and I'm going to zoom in, I'm going to assume that n sub x is going to represent your horizontal shifts, okay? Or I'm sorry, your horizontal stretches. And then n sub y is going to represent your vertical stretches, okay? Because again, x is your horizontal axis, y is your y-axis, or that vertical axis, okay? So if I look at this right here, again, NX is your horizontal stretch. So you want to move this around, and notice when you're moving it around, you're stretching the figure horizontally. So that's what I'm going to do. It tells us to choose any n value. So I'm going to go ahead and label n sub x as 2. That's my n value. N is going to be at equal 2. So that also means that 2 is your scale factor. I'm going to go ahead and record 2. And what they want us to do is they want us to record A prime, B prime, and C prime. So what that means is I'm going to go ahead and record the image, the final image of my point. So A prime, if you look at A prime is at a positive 4 and a positive 1. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and look at B prime. B prime is at a positive 8 and a positive 2. And then C prime is at 5, 1. I'm sorry, not at 5, 1, but at 10, a positive 10 and a positive 1. Okay, and what this activity wants you to do is it wants you to do it for 3 different scale factors. I'm only going to do 2 with you. Okay, I'm going to also just do the Y, the vertical stretch for you. So again, I'm going to set my scale factor at 2. Okay, so notice like the slider for the vertical stretch, I'm going to go ahead and stretch that at 2. So this is n sub y is going to equal 2. And I'm going to repeat that same process. I'm going to find what A prime is, what B prime is, and what C prime is. Okay, if you look at A prime, I can't click on that, but just know that A prime is at positive 2, positive 2. B prime, okay, here's B prime. B prime is at positive 4, positive 4. And C prime is at a positive 5 and a positive 2. Okay, you're going to, again, choose 2 other different n values for your vertical stretches. You want to hit submit so that it saves, okay? Now, if you look at question 2, it says, what do you notice about the y coordinates before and after a horizontal stretch? A horizontal stretch, remember our x value was our horizontal stretches. Notice I have an A prime, the y, and if you compare A to A prime, the y coordinates are the same. If you compare your pre-image B to your image B, your y coordinates stay the same. For horizontal stretches, the y coordinates don't change. The only thing that changes for a horizontal stretch is the x coordinate. Okay, if you look at a vertical stretch, so again, NY was our vertical stretch. It says, what do you notice about the x coordinates? We're going to note that all of my x coordinates stays the same. So if I look at the pre-image A, I have an x coordinate at 2. If I look at A prime, my x coordinate is still at 2. Okay, if I look for B, pre-image for B is 4. The image for B or B prime is also 4. Okay, and then looking at C, C is the same thing. Notice how both of my x coordinates are at 5. Okay, so for horizontal stretches, the x coordinates don't change. The only thing that changes for a vertical stretch is the y coordinate. And you're going to hit submit. Okay? Next, question 1, what do you notice about the x coordinates before and after a horizontal stretch? What do you notice about the y coordinates before and after a vertical stretch? Express your answers in terms of n sub x and n sub y. So what they're trying to say is, how does my x coordinates change after a horizontal stretch? Okay, so after a horizontal stretch, I'm going to say the x coordinates change by the ratio of n sub x. Okay, so whatever nx is, that's your, remember we're going to multiply that n with our x coordinates. Okay, for a vertical stretch, the y coordinates change by the ratio of ny. Whatever your scale factor is, which is n, you're going to multiply your y coordinates by n. So I'm going to go ahead and hit submit. Okay. Move the horizontal and vertical slides some more to stretch the image of the triangle. As you move, observe what happens to the interior angles of a triangle. So if I look at this, they want to know if I'm moving the figure of these shapes. Notice the interior angles, the measure of your interior angles are going to change. So that's what we're going to put. We're going to say that the measure of the interior angles change, and stretches do not preserve angle measurements. Meaning your angles, the measures of your angles are not going to stay the same. They're going to change. Okay, so you're just going to hit submit and we're done. Do your self-evaluation. If you are losing points for these activities, you lose 10 points if you don't do a self-evaluation, okay? So just keep that in mind. Make sure you, again, I'm going to print this. Okay, and I'm going to save it as a PDF. Some of you may have it like connected to your printer. Again, just save as a PDF and upload this into Teams. Okay.